Have you ever wondered if humans are truly meant to be with just one person for their entire lives? Or is monogamy something we've adopted over time, a social agreement rather than a biological imperative? It's a fascinating question that touches the very core of our relationships and our nature. Today, we're taking a deep dive into evolutionary biology to explore the science behind human mating systems. Let's start by looking at our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, primates. When we examine our primate cousins, we see a wide spectrum of mating behaviors. Gibbons, for example, are known for forming strong long-term pair bonds, often staying together for life. They represent a model of social monogamy in the primate world. On the other hand, you have chimpanzees and bonobos, our genetically closest living relatives. Their societies are much more promiscuous, with individuals having multiple partners. This diversity among primates suggests that there isn't one single natural way. It shows that mating strategies are incredibly flexible and adapt to different ecological and social pressures. So, where do humans fit into this picture? To understand this, we need to look at what biologists call sexual dimorphism. This refers to the physical differences between males and females of a species beyond the reproductive organs themselves. In species where males are significantly larger and more muscular than females, it often points to a history of intense male-and-male competition for access to mates. Think of gorillas, where a dominant silverback is much larger than the females in his group. This high degree of sexual dimorphism is a strong indicator of a polygynous system, where one male mates with multiple females. Now, let's look at humans. Human males are, on average, about 15 to 20% larger than females. This places us somewhere in the middle. We're not as dimorphic as gorillas, but we are more dimorphic than strictly monogamous species like gibbons, where males and females are roughly the same size. This moderate level of dimorphism suggests that, for much of our evolutionary history, we likely weren't strictly monogamous. It points towards a system that could be described as mildly polygynous, where some individuals had multiple partners, but it wasn't the dominant strategy for everyone. Another piece of the puzzle comes from a phenomenon known as the Coolidge Effect. This is a biological concept observed across many species, and it's quite straightforward. The Coolidge Effect describes the tendency for an individual to show renewed interest when a new, receptive partner is introduced even after having recently mated with a previous partner. It essentially speaks to a biological drive for novelty in mating. This effect has been demonstrated in countless studies across the animal kingdom. While human behavior is far more complex and influenced by emotion, culture, and conscious choice, the underlying biological mechanism is still relevant. It suggests that our brains may be wired, to some extent, to seek out new partners. This doesn't mean we are slaves to our biology, but it does indicate a potential evolutionary pull away from strict, lifelong monogamy. It points to a history where having multiple partners could have been an advantageous reproductive strategy. Let's turn our attention to anthropology and look at human cultures around the world. When we study different societies, especially pre-agricultural and hunter-gatherer groups, we find something remarkable. The vast majority of cultures on record, over 80% of them, have permitted or even encouraged polygyny, the practice of one man having multiple wives. This isn't just an obscure historical fact. It's a well-documented pattern across human societies. While monogamy is the most common practice within these cultures, polygyny was often seen as a status symbol, an ideal for successful individuals to strive for. This anthropological data strongly suggests that strict monogamy is not the universal natural state for humans. Instead, it seems we are a very flexible species, capable of adopting various mating systems depending on our environment, resources, and cultural norms. Our ancestors likely lived in systems that were primarily monogamous, but with a significant degree of polygyny and other arrangements. Or, if our biology and a significant portion of our history point away from strict monogamy, why is it so prevalent today? The answer is largely cultural and social. The rise of agriculture about 10,000 years ago changed everything. Suddenly, people began to own land, accumulate property, and pass it down to their children. This created a powerful new incentive for knowing who your children are. Monogamy, particularly for women, became crucial for ensuring paternity and the orderly transfer of wealth and property from one generation to the next. Socially enforced monogamy became a way to structure society, reduce conflict over partners, and create stable family units for raising children in this new agricultural world. was less about biological design and more about social and economic design. In essence, monogamy can be seen as a social construct, an institution we built to solve the problems that arose with civilization. It's a cultural technology that has been incredibly successful in many ways. It provides a stable framework for raising children, fostering emotional intimacy, and building communities. However, it's important to recognize that it may not align perfectly with our deeper evolutionary heritage. This mismatch between our evolved psychology and our modern social structures can create tension. It might help explain why maintaining a lifelong monogamous relationship can be challenging for some people, and why infidelity, despite being socially condemned, occurs across all cultures. It's not an excuse for behavior, but rather an explanation for the underlying conflict many people feel. We are navigating a modern world with a brain that was shaped by a very different past. This understanding doesn't mean that monogamy is wrong or unnatural in a moral sense. Humans are unique in our ability to make conscious choices that go against our primal urges. We can choose to be monogamous because we value the deep emotional connection, stability, and companionship it offers. We can commit to one person out of love, respect, and a shared vision for the future. Recognizing our evolutionary background doesn't diminish the value of that choice. In fact, it might make it even more meaningful. It means that when we choose monogamy, we are consciously shaping our lives and relationships, rather than just passively following a biological script. Ultimately, the science suggests that humans are not designed for any single mating system. We are designed to be incredibly adaptable. We have biological tendencies that pull us towards novelty and multiple partners, but we also have the capacity for deep pair bonding, empathy, and long-term commitment. Our nature is not to be strictly monogamous or strictly polygamous. Our nature is to be flexible. This means there's no one-size-fits-all answer. What works for one person or one couple might not work for another. The beautiful thing about being human is our ability to choose the path that brings us fulfillment and happiness. Whether that's within a monogamous relationship or another form of partnership, understanding our evolutionary past gives us the freedom to have more honest conversations about our relationships, our desires, and the kind of lives we want to build for ourselves. If you found this exploration into our evolutionary history interesting, be sure to subscribe to Sex Education Repo for more deep dives into the science of human behavior and relationships.